I assume that we're live. Screen said that I was live. It is 2:16, so technically, according to my post, I'm a minute late. Probably not a full minute late, but regardless. We haven't gone live before. Wow, 10 seconds already. That's a lot. That's a lot of content. Oh boy. Um, Hi everybody. Nate Byer, GXV Media. Late night photo flips, number 6. I like numbers. I like sequential numbers. It's one of the banes of my existence, actually. All right. So we're going to try something. Again, I'm going to preface and then we're going to lead with just some housekeeping. I've never gone live before. Everything that is under the live tab on this YouTube page is was re-recorded. It's something that I haven't trusted the live yet. I'm still trying to figure some of the hardware and software out, and we don't get enough time to do all that. Eventually, here we're gonna share a screen and we're gonna flip through some photos, but we're just going to talk about what we're going to get into today. I'm leaving all of this here so that way when we stop the stream and I just store it in the file, everybody knows what we're getting into. So it's kind of an introduction per se. Why did I want to go live today? Number one, I haven't made video content for a week or so. I think we've recorded some video, but we haven't shared it. It takes a lot of time. Video takes a lot of time. If any of you have ever worked in video, it takes a lot of time. That being said, it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I did video. For those of you who maybe are new to anything that I do, when I left high school, I cut my teeth making highlight films. If I haven't said that before, I'll say it today. I loved making highlight films. It was fun to take popular songs, cool sports highlights, and mash them together. But if you knew how much time it took to make the proper cuts, the proper jumps, to just collect the footage, because I went and shot all of my own game film for the most part. Eventually, I would, here and there, I would borrow some game film, but the game film for football, basketball, anything, you're so far away. It's an all 22 or all 10 or all court type camera. A dunk doesn't feel the same when you are viewing it from up in the nosebleeds. A dunk feels very different when you're filming, when you're pulling in as that as that player goes up, both hands, one hand doesn't matter, pulls the rim, you feel it vibrate. And again, that's what we do in photography. We can shoot wide, we can shoot and show the entire space, and we'll show that today. Or do you become more selective, show a narrower field of space? And when you are more specific, do you actually learn more? That's something that we'll probably hit on, I'm sure. I don't have a script. We're just going to kind of wing it today. I need practice. This is practice. And that's one thing that I've talked about often is I need practice at doing this, because I think this is a really good way to connect with you. Hello. If you're out there, hello, wave back, drop a comment, jump into the chat. Let me know you're out there. Let's see what you want to see. This is our big gateway into our winter sports season. Yesterday, we had our boys sectional wrestling tournament. Technically, we had a regional for the girls on Friday as well. Maybe that's the real kickoff. But I think the boys, because of the numbers, the girls probably shouldn't hold that title. I looked at numbers for our girls regionals, and they were awful. Sorry, there's no other way to put it. It was awful. We had brackets of one girl, brackets with two girls. That's not a good way to build the sport. Sorry. On the flip side, wrestling, boys side, oofta, super sectional. We're just going to call it a sectional. It's a sectional. In lieu of our regionals or super regionals, I thought it was great. It was a long day of wrestling, absolutely. But I think it was the right move for wrestling with the declining participation, with more and more co-ops and more co-ops that should happen. The brackets that I was at, I think they were mostly filled out. We can take a look on USA Bracketing and see what everybody had. But again, I went to Osseo-Fairchild. I had a great day, long day. Yeah, by about 3 or 4, I got burned out, and we hadn't even started finals yet. I think that was the biggest thing that I was worried about was the length of the day. It was a long day. I left as soon as finals were done, and it was quarter to 8 or somewhere in there, a little before, 7:45. I ran from Osseo back down to Black River Falls, stopped in at a hockey game. Wow, that was fun too. It made me forget all about wrestling just because of, the finish that we had and everything there, but wrestling was cool. I think the super sectional was a great change. Actually, I've really been in favor of a lot of the changes that they've made to the wrestling postseason. But yesterday, like I said, it was a long day. It gave me a lot of opportunities to see different kids wrestle. We're going to take a look at our photos. Um, how far are we in here? Oh, we've got a number of folks watching. I'm good with that. Let's take a look at some photos because you guys are waiting for photos, right? Again, as we go through, I'll try to pop back and forth between my my photo culling screen and this. Like I said, if you have questions about something, drop a note. Let's see if I can answer some of those questions. Um, what do I want to do here? Let's go with this entire screen. That's the easiest thing for me to do. So now I can see my screen inside my screen inside my screen inside my screen. I love this look. That's great. All right. Here's my folder of photos. There are a lot of them. There are 2,788. I think I've deleted maybe upwards of 10 at this point in time. I do not want to know what Logan has. Logan, like I have explained, tends to shoot a little heavier. She was at the Division 3 sectional at Brookwood. I don't doubt that she got good stuff. I just know that there's a lot there. Um, all right, let's get into this because 2,800 photos do not get rid of themselves. So let's start at the beginning and let's work our way through. Oh, look, this is a great place to start. Pete Peterson's a great one to lead off with, right? I probably chose that. If I think about how I shot, uh, past self probably said, "Hey, why don't you start with him? That's a good place to start." Anyways, I didn't look at the brackets before they wrestled. I assumed that we didn't go right into a quarterfinal match, so I figured it was some sort of group of 16, and that's exactly what it was. Um, I didn't do a great job of pacing myself. Like, if you want to pace yourself and stay fresh for the most meaningful matches, well, hate to say it, this first round I should have skipped. I should have skipped completely. But there are kids in this round that I did want to see, even if I didn't know it. I wanted to see them. And for some kids, I think if you got bounced in the first round, you were done for the day. So if I didn't see you, even if you lost, there's a good chance I found a positive photo of you, of them. So having that on file, I think for me is important. Again, what do I do with all of these? Yeah, it's nice to try to market and sell and use these for editorial purposes or for parents or whatever. But on the other hand, it's nice to have file art. I know um, there comes a time when having file art for certain kids is important. Postseason awards, all conference this or that, feature stories. If we could write feature stories, I knew that I would see a pretty healthy dose. Oh, that's not in focus. We have to delete that. I knew I would see a pretty heavy and healthy dose of um, West Salem and GET, and probably Arcadia, because I think Arcadia ends up uh, filling out most of their bracket or most of their lineup. And I think I did. And I felt really good about that because for me, with the way that I do coverage, the Cooley Conference is a pretty prominent group of teams in my coverage area. So it's always good to see those teams as much as possible. And I'll apologize right now. Sorry, West Hill. We didn't see you at all until, well, yesterday. That's just how the season worked out. Snow days, other things. Um, it just didn't work out. That's why I wanted to go here yesterday, because I wanted to make sure I gave West Salem the respect that that team probably deserves. Again, they're one of, I call them one of the, one, two, three or four most um, important teams in our area. Relevant, I think that's the word I use, relevant. It's hard to call a team relevant if you only have 5 or 6 kids. It's just you're not a relevant team. You might have relevant individuals, but team-wise, West Salem can do some good things, and next week at our team sectional, I'm curious to see what happens. I think that's a fun one in Black River Falls. So in case you weren't aware, this sectional, as we work through these photos, the top 2 individuals. So the difference this year in Division 2 and 3, it used to be the top 3 individuals from the sectional would go on to state. I think there were less sectionals, and now there are maybe 1 or 2 more to because of the additional teams. Anyways, this year only the top 2 make it to state, but the top 6 teams move on to a team sectional, and that's set up a little differently as well. Again, I like all of these changes. I think they're all good. Probably a long time coming in some cases, not fast enough in others. I very much believe that wrestling is a sport that needs attention right now. I think it's in a pretty rough spot in terms of participation, kind of like girls basketball. It's hard to argue when we have lineups that are half full or half empty, depending on how you want to look at it. So anything that we can do to try to grow that sport, well, guess what? It's not just going to happen overnight. We got to look at it differently. So again, we're still working through this round of 16, I believe, and not every weight class was full. As I looked through brackets, I remember most of the number 1 seeds had a bye, if not all of them, and a few of the number 2 seeds had a bye. For the most part, I think everybody else is wrestling. Which again, that's a pretty full tournament. I'm okay with that. It made me really glad that I showed up here. Not that some of the other ones were not going to have enough kids, but there were places that probably didn't have as many kids. I mean, we had pretty full teams. So what am I doing when I go to a meet like this? I'm going to be there all day. I didn't expect to be there all day. But as we got moving along, I get these little nuggets that make me want to stay. This is a sectional final event. We're determining who goes to state. This is the end of the season for the vast majority of our wrestlers. Even if you qualify for your team sectional, quite honestly, if you're not the first or second or maybe the third team in that case, the writing's kind of on the wall. You can wrestle a couple more matches, but to get out of that team sectional is tough. It's going to be tough because your top teams are good. They have full lineups and they typically have quality within those lineups. If you have even 2 holes in your lineup, it changes the parameters and makes it tough, real tough to get out. But this was again, fun individual event. But the stakes were high. I think that's the big thing. Sorry. It's hard to do this and to do this and think and keep talking at the same time. The stakes are high. We had, kids extend seasons. A lot of kids, like I said, the majority of these kids, they did not move on. Some of them had wonderful wins inside this tournament, moments that they got to celebrate, they got to enjoy. 2 hours later, their season was over, and they felt the other side of that knife. The one side that cuts, oh my gosh, that's great. And the other side, oh, we're done. I get hooked a little bit on the emotion. That was kind of the fun of the day for me is the emotion. That's why I stayed as long as I did. I wanted to see what kind of emotion happened. And you'll see as once we get to some of those images, there are some pretty emotional images that come through because again, let's say there's even a minor upset. Or I remember a couple of matches, just the tempo was high. The aggression grew. the styles pitted, a couple of wrestlers against each other in a way that just created more conflict that made the wins really juicy. But you also see what I got hit with. Excuse me. I missed a lot of reaction. It's kind of a gamble. A lot of times the reaction was excellent. The most excellent reaction happened. Oh shoot, that's a good takedown shot that I have to kill because look at that. None of that's in focus. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see how out of focus that is? That's because the camera jumped, grabbed focus on something else just for a split second, only to come back right when you can't see a face. Good job, camera. Good job. Thanks. Um, I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Let's see. Do we have any? Oh, just want to make sure we don't have any comments or questions as we go through here. Again, there's a lot of stuff here. For me, physically, sitting next to the mat is great, but it is taxing. I could feel it probably by even about noon, a couple hours in. I think we started at 10. So by noon, you can feel it. Your spine, your butt, your hips, they all get kind of mashed up just by being sat on. One of the big things for me is taking breaks, getting up, moving, get up and move, get up and move. There were a few vantage points. You'll notice, let's go back here. So here we have a slightly different vantage point. I'm up by the head table. I am shooting to my left, kind of diagonally across a couple mats. The background looks empty because there aren't people in it. Did I like that look? I didn't love that look for that purpose. I like the look because it's different than me shooting straight on, like most of these matches are. I'm shooting a couple mats away, so you just it's different, and it's different to have. If I would have sat in the middle of the baseline by the head table and shot, I would have had an interesting look with clean white walls, wrestlers wrestling on a very, very neutral background or with very limited figures behind them. And you'll see most of what we have is we have the crowd. And the crowd looked good. The crowd was healthy. The crowd got into it a little bit. I was really happy. I was really happy to see the Arcadia section throughout the day. I thought was pretty lively. And I think I talked to coach at some point in time, but the things that I, wasn't able to say at the time because we just didn't have enough time to do it. He's doing a good job of rebuilding that program or building that program into something. Numbers are good. He's got fans in the stands yelling stuff. I haven't really seen that from that group in a long time. I think that's a positive. Speaking of speaking of our Arcadia group, here you go. I went up in the track. So Osseo-Fairchild, it's here. I have some wide shots. If you're not familiar with this gymnasium, I'm going to lay it out so that way you have an understanding of how we were watching this. Here we go. Okay, I'm assuming you can see the cursor. Here we go. This is the gymnasium. 3 mats, people. There's a nice walking track around the top. So if we had more people would be up there. I'm glad that it wasn't completely full shoulder to shoulder up top, simply because I could shoot some interesting photographs looking down on the mat. Now, this third mat here gave me the best vantage point because I could almost be directly over the top. There's one match in particular that I came up with some interesting action shots because I was up right behind these banners. However, it was an important match. There was, I think, wild celebration, and it all went the other direction because the wrestler was facing his home crowd, and they look towards the home crowd when they win. Again, it's kind of a gamble. Where are they going to celebrate? Which direction? Are they going to celebrate towards their fans, towards their coaches, or in whatever position they finish the match in? So, like I said, it's a gamble. You get a kick out of it. I forget this gentleman's name here, but he came up to me at the end of the day and said and flipped a photo at me and said, "You shot this X amount of years ago. This was me doing this." And I remember seeing that from an old Arcadia invite. It's a cool photo. It was back when I was still using, or when I tried to use strobes uh, for events. And I remember sitting at Arcadia. Speaking of shooting over the top, um, that was it was a photo in a time that I thought was interesting. It was a nice kind of single leg takedown. I thought lit well because you have more than just um, the lights from the gym that face down. Again, if we cared a lot, we would light our gyms a lot differently. The presentation of our gym lighting is very poor in a lot of cases. Not just the brightness, but again, it's the direction that we're pushing the light. And I think that's something that our schools are doing a lot of different things to try to up the ante with, whether it be video boards and other things. But again, we're missing some of these other presentation accommodations, and directional lighting is one of them. Not just lights hanging from the ceiling, but why are the lights hanging from the ceiling? Or should the lights be coming from the side? Or should they be coming only from the outside parameters, or the outside perimeter? Sorry, perimeter. Yeah, I'm up top, so I'm getting some different vantage points. I think that's kind of the fun for me. You're going to see a lot of these boards. Why? And these boards are good because they didn't flicker. If any of you have photographed the scoreboard, the lights typically will cycle, flicker, and you might have to take 10 photos of the scoreboard just to get the scoreboard, or both, home and away score. In some cases, you will get three of the four numbers. It depends on how the lights cycle. These do cycle a little bit, I think. I know, like, the ones that Sparta has, which are very similar, tend to roll a little bit, but these I think were about, I don't think these ever did. So for me, aim, shoot. Now I have the board, weight class, bout number, 2 kids, and who's what. This is great. For me, if I revisit this in 10 or 15 years, the information's here. I can figure out the rest as long as the websites to track the wrestling are still there. Yeah, I didn't do a lot of these. If I've talked about these before, these stalker images where I'm watching kids get in the zone before they go out to wrestle. I didn't do a lot of these yesterday. Um, I don't know why. I think by the time I wanted to do it, it was quarterfinal matches, and I thought those were important to be at. Um, and I just didn't leave that side. But here, this is a good example of, I'm shooting over the top. Now I'm also shooting at a diagonal because I'm trying to fill one side of the frame versus the other. I'm trying to make an interesting composition within, in camera, instead of trying to crop this. You're going to see some better examples later on. I would say it's a pretty mediocre example, especially compared to some of the other things that I have. I spent a lot of time up top. It was nice just to walk around. It was nice to be on my feet. It was nice to just pay attention to wrestling a little differently. Some of the matches were a little too far away from the edge for me to shoot and feel very, very comfortable about. Um, that would have been good on the other side. But I also knew that if I'm going to be there all day, there's absolutely no reason for me to shoot every match from the same part of the gym, right? That's boring. It's boring for you. It's boring for me. Doing something different is a-okay. But I know I skipped a few matches. And that was the other thing. Like, do I need to shoot every match? And I skipped a number of matches. At some point in time, I skipped matches because I needed a mental break. Good cradle. We have a face. That was the one thing. Being up top did allow me to see faces a little differently. I think that's important. Certain maneuvers don't open the face up very well, especially for mat side. But if you're over the top, almost bird's eye view, you can see a match just a little differently. Kind of wondered, there are certain, we had a number of pinning combinations, I think, that would have been really cool, like drone view straight over the top. Again, you can't just put one camera in the middle of the mat and hope that's good enough. It almost has to be a camera that can move so it stays directly over the figures wrestling. That was an idea that didn't pan out there. Good armbar, that looks good. I remember what that feels like to be put in. If it doesn't feel good at all, you know it's coming, and you're probably not going to get out of it. Yeah, we shot a lot of photos yesterday. I actually felt like I controlled my the amount, the rate, the pace, how I shot. I easily probably could have come back with twice as many images, but even having the what did I say, 2,800? That's really not so bad. Hmm. I think it's a little soft. Yeah, we're gonna take it and kill it. Yeah, for those, this is a good tip. For those who are just gonna stalk, have school branding. Looks better than just some grubby T-shirt. School branding is important, I think, especially when you're at a tournament. Um, rep your school, rep your team. This is not the most energetic photo of Coach that I have. There were a couple sequences where he got a little feisty. And if you were to talk to him, he would probably agree with that. Yeah, a lot of so if you look, this is a good example. Not a good photo. Okay, it's probably not going to survive this culling. But if we look underneath here, we have a lot of shadow. That's because the light is hitting the top because the light is literally above everybody, and the mat is black, so it's soaking up all of that light. Now, if the mat was white, gray, something light colored, that color would bounce back up. So if it was a white or a grayish neutral colored mat, we would get some light from these, to bounce up into here and to illuminate those faces. Again, as a photographer, that's what I would love. As a wrestler, you maybe wouldn't love it. I don't know. Maybe as a school administrator, you wouldn't love it because your mats are going to look dirty. It's also really easy to find blood. But again, we all want black mats. I don't know why. I think a little color spices things up. But like I said, Osseo's gym is lit pretty well, so I didn't have to worry about too many things there. You're going to see here, I'm shooting on a diagonal purposefully, not by accident, to try to give a little bit more action to what's happening. Again, it looks, especially when you're leading up from the bottom left to the top right, it just gives a little more action, I think. Not in focus, not sharp enough. I'm going to get rid of that one. Wasn't happy with some things there. Tried to watch coaches. Coaches were pretty intense yesterday, I thought. Again, the stakes are high. They feel the pressure too, right? And for me, the fun is finding our emotion. You can find conflict. I've talked about conflict a lot, especially with wrestling. Two guys fighting each other. In volleyball, a blocker and a hitter. In golf, you don't get the conflict because you don't have a one-on-one. If there's conflict, for golf, you're probably looking at figure, person, character versus nature. How do they get through the sand, around a hill, through a tree? You almost have to invent it and display it a little differently. All day, all day, all day, and throughout finals, it was you get this referee interference all the time. Bless their hearts, those guys worked their tails off yesterday, but they cause a lot of problems by just walking around, especially during finals when 2 of them now are walking around. If you're limited to where you can be as media, it does create some problems. Um, I've kind of just I've watched people in basketball move with the officials. The one baseline official switches sides depending on possessions and other things, and I've watched some parents try to hop back and forth. I've moved back and forth a little bit, but typically my thought process is, you know what? Give it a couple possessions, it's gonna change, and you're gonna get the shot opportunities that you want. Ah, good takedown. Look at that fun aggression. We don't You aren't gonna find that in basketball the same way. Look at that camera unfocus everything. Wow, what a great set of photos I just deleted. If you think it hurts, if you think that that doesn't hurt for me to get rid of stuff like that, you're wrong. Look at this. Would have been pretty decent photo in focus. Camera let me down. I don't know. Like it seems like the autofocus just has a I want to mess with you gene in it. So whenever I absolutely need it to work, it really just wants to do something the opposite. Goodness gracious. Where are we at? Oh, we're in the quarterfinals. Cool. I think we probably knew that by now anyways. After the quarters, I shoot the semis pretty hard, and then I kinda skip until the finals. Again, there's I couldn't stay dialed in that entire time. Again, referee foot kind of in the way. It's close enough where if we needed to keep this, I think I'm going to keep this because we could crop and get rid of this foot. No, I will not use AI to get rid of that foot. I have dabbled in AI usage, not necessarily for photos, definitely not like that. Um, I think you just have to be very cautious with how we let the robots run ourselves. I remember shooting the sequence. This is a great, I'm going to call it, it's a defense of a shot. So the GET kid is trying to ward off a shot by the Osseo kid, and he fought and fought and fought. It was a good fight. I mean, look at this. There's good conflict. Our body positions are strong. I would call that a more than publishable. Any one of those would probably be more than publishable in any of the publications I work for. Yeah, in the quarters, we had some pretty fast matches. I think Tegan's match was pretty fast. Um, Again, you're talking about your what? I forget what he was, probably the 1 seed. So he's definitely got an opponent that is not a 1 seed. That match is going to go pretty fast. If that was my only match to watch him wrestle, and the Nakusa kid did a nice job of not getting pinned right away. If that happens, then it just gives me some more opportunities. Oh, look at this, 150 wins. Would have been better if I would have stood up to remove our foreground person and focus more on that manner. But you win some, and sometimes you aren't good. I make mistakes. That's why we stay and we shoot, and we are always looking for that perfect thing. I think this was a pretty fast match. They're all off the ground. His feet are off the ground in that. And I think Boston Kid takes him down, rolls him over, pins him flat, or it's the other way around. Maybe that's what happened. I remember the face mask. It's hard to forget those face masks. Kids are hanging out. If you know them, you can tell them. There's a photo. Again, the quarterfinals meant that we got to see a lot of our top seeds wrestle. I can't imagine Colton Cost wasn't a top seed. Fun to watch him wrestle. We've got shots. We've got some pinning combos from him. I think throughout the day because I know I saw him in the semis pretty well. Here, I'm not going to yell at my camera. The camera right now is focusing on hands and but grabbed a foot at one point in time. But again, kid got pinned facing away from me. There's nothing you can do about it. Um, I'm trying that diagonal again. This looks pretty good. Again, when the figure's face is pointed up towards either side, it's a little different than if they're pointed towards the bottom corners. I'm not saying one's completely wrong, but one's going to feel different than the other. I did like the Dell's uniforms. Dell's singlets were good. Um, but if I haven't said it before, the Dell's just has a good color scheme. The double blue is a great color scheme. Armbar always looks good tension. Um, Wrestling just gives us good stuff. Yeah, could have had a cool takedown. I'm pretty sure I was put in this position at one point in time, staring at the ceiling. Nope, didn't feel great, but I knew it was going to happen. So, hmm, here's a match. Remember spending some time there. Let's take a look again. Any questions? No? Okay, good. Again, this is fun. Good tension. Good single. Camera let me down again. Again, throughout the day, we're really looking for emotion. The search at sectionals is emotion. We can get this action at any other wrestling tournament. Kids will wrestle. They will literally wrestle. What can you not get? And it's the emotion. Once we start hitting some of those emotional notes, it'll feel different. It feels different. I've said this before. I'm going to say it again. Capturing that moment when it comes to sports, that one big emotional outburst moment, it's to me one of the biggest thrills and one of the greatest failures if you miss it because you saw it. There are a couple of these situations that I saw that I could do nothing about because they were facing away from me. So I didn't exactly see the whole thing. But I saw what it could have been. Missing those moments hurts a lot because you cannot replicate what we will see in the back end of this gallery, which is again those genuine emotional outbursts. You don't get those anywhere else. You can't reenact those no matter what you do. And that's when I think I had that talk with because some folks after the hockey game last night. You cannot replicate the emotion. If I went and shot a wedding, I can redo everything at a wedding. First kiss, you kind of miss it. Guess what? There's a second, third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and whatever. First dance, it lasts 3 minutes or 4 minutes. All you need is one or two photos to commemorate that. But that should exist. You know what I mean? You miss cutting of the cake. Well, it's not just the first cut, it's the second, it's the third, it's the fourth. There's a whole process. You need one photo from the thing. And it happens over a longer duration of time. These Yakuza coaches got really excited. I think this match. Yes, they did. Um, but finding that again, this is a good example. You will never get him to reenact this with the same emotion. That's pure and that's honest. That is what I chased this time of year. That's why yesterday was fun. Yesterday was fun again, wrestling wise, but again, I got the bonus. I got the bonus hockey. because Thomas Sparta competed. It was their Cranberry Cup game. I've never been to the Cranberry Cup game. I just kind of take it as a, it's a local trophy, not that big of a deal. They had a lot of fun with it. They had Warren's Cranfest royalty hand out said trophy. Kids jumped around. I mean, the way that the game went down led to some of that as well. I feel like we had 3 or 4 scores in the last 90 seconds of the game. That's pretty wild. Ah, that's a great single leg. Camera didn't want to grab anything. And the kid didn't want to go down, so he just ended up giving me more cool photos. Oh, that is interesting. I think I remember this. I feel like he tried to jump his way clear, and it just didn't work. 157 in the quarters. Okay. Yeah, if you guys have questions as we go, let me know. Drop something someplace. I'll do my best to answer said questions. We're just flipping through photos. I'm sure in 5 years, nobody will look back at this and be that excited to see the junk photos that we got rid of. Or somebody's gonna be real upset that I like that photo. Why isn't it in the gallery? It wasn't good enough. Not every photo needs to go in a photo gallery. Tip: don't post 1,000 photos on Facebook. Is he smiling? I think he is. It's too soft though. I think it's out of focus, so it has to go away. Whoops. Yeah, don't just drop 3,000 photos in a Facebook gallery and call it good enough. Nobody wants to see your 100 photos. Sorry, what I should say is nobody wants to see your 80 slightly out of focus, not cropped, not presented photos. If you want me to look through them, you've got to give me a reason to stay in the gallery. They have to be treated with care, and if you can't treat them with care, why are you putting them online? We try to be pretty diligent about what we put on social media. Diligent in terms of putting quality stuff. We don't need everything out there. We need some teases. We need some interesting compositions. We need to put some images that are compelling. If we can't have that, we don't need to post it. If we don't have that, we just aren't going to post it. It's okay. Sometimes less is more. That's something that we could probably all learn from, right? Less is more. Little more restraint. Little less sharing on some of our socials. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, that was a fun match. I think that was 7-7. I think they or it went to overtime, and I forget what happened. Maybe it was a stalling call. I think that was a stalling call. That's a pretty anticlimactic way to decide overtime. Yeah, like I said, we saw a lot of GT and a lot of West Salem yesterday. I'm okay with that. Those teams are good. Good teams deserve to be seen. I'm glad that they will likely be on a collision course when it comes to our team sectional. If you are a fan of wrestling and live in that Cooley region area, I recommend that. I don't think it'll be a terrible setup in Cashton for that Division 3 team sectional. But I think the haves and the have-nots are a little different there. We're still in the quarters? Okay. I mean, I'm tired of going through these even at this point in time. We've been going for half hour, 40 minutes. This is how long it takes me to go through these. But I've got other stuff to do today. It's a beautiful day outside. We lost power at home for like an hour or so. I went outside on the porch and read, trimmed up the old face a little bit. It was a beautiful day to be outside. Yesterday was a nice day to be outside, but I was inside. We saw light filtering in here and there. It was a nice tease. Did you you go to a wrestling sectional yesterday? Did you think it was too long? New format was too long? I just, like I said before, I've been to enough regional tournaments in the past 10 years. Wrestling regionals at the Division 3 level have been useless because we just have so many holes in the brackets, or the groupings of teams aren't split up well enough to help fill the brackets. Division 2, even if you look, the brackets aren't full enough, in my opinion. It's hard to justify going to a tournament that lasts for 2 hours. The sectionals are usually, the sectionals are always good. Like I said, I think that our format changes were um, long overdue. Really glad to see them. Excited for something different. Sometimes we get really used to our routine. I get used to some of the routine, and I know even not having sectional wrestling next week changes what I'm able to do or not do, and I'm going to look forward to that. I think his hand is somehow stuck inside. Interesting. That's one. Okay, so now we're heading into the semis. So we took a break. I enjoyed my break. I thought that the folks at Osseo did a good job of keeping things moving. I mean, and like I said, they probably got done around 8:30, 8:45 at the latest with the last of the wrestlebacks. But they took a half hour break from like 1 to 1:40 at one point, and they took a little quick break before they went into that finals round. Honestly, I thought they kept things moving. It's a long day, no matter how you do it. Back when I was in high school, even when I started this, I thought our tournaments usually lasted till 7 or 8 at night. And then we've kind of gotten away from that. And I hate to say it, I think we're a little soft in how we are willing to be at a tournament. I don't know. It's a long day. We're done at 3. It's not a long day. 3 o'clock. Starting finals at 4 should be normalized in a way. If you're starting finals at like 2 in the afternoon, I'm sorry. Why is your tournament so small? Here we go. This was an exciting match. This is when I said coach was a little excited, different later on in the day. And this is the good kind of excited. He gets agitated too. All coaches do. We see it. Again, we see when wrestlers get agitated. Here's a photo. I framed it, tried to put our figures in the upper right-hand corner just to give us a little bit different presentation. And I've thought that this felt a little like an upset. It might have. I haven't looked at the brackets on this. I knew that the Boston kid would be excited. Look, he's excited. His fans now, when he got done, like he's basically facing his fan section. So I got lucky here. This was easy as pie as far as I'm concerned. You follow the kid, he's excited. This is probably the peak emotion. This wouldn't have been a bad frame, but look, it's out of focus. Thanks, camera. And then his hands. Yeah. So I probably did okay. Camera almost messed me up there. We're going to go through a series of images now where I'm up top. I'm walking around, like I said, I'm walking around the track. This is an interesting, I don't think it's a takedown, but I think he's trying to keep him on bottom. Again, it's a different dynamic that you don't get to see. Look at our background. It is clean. We don't have colors and blurred out shapes because of our depth of field. We just have the mat. And I think here's where I really fell in love with that look. And I tried to find that, the right angle. Again, look at this. They're tied up. You're not going to get this type of a photo by being on the ground. That's the cool part. And not every match gives you wonderful images, but the only downside, this match has this advertising, I would say advertising nonsense on it. Extra letters all over, especially in the middle of the circle. Little kind of gobbledygook to me. But I tried playing with the angle that I held the camera, the way that I was trying to frame everything. Let's tilt it here, let's tilt it there. Hey, Zach. Did I talk about Zach at one of my other ones? Yeah, Zach ended up here again. We had a good talk about a number of different things. And I'm sure that he insulted me and called me names at some point in time too. That's just the kind of person he is. Or it's actually just the relationship that we have. This would have been a takedown that would have looked cool because we're dragging our feet on the inside of the ring. We got a kid face down. He got hurt, I think, a little bit on this, but they called him out of bounds. Took some time, went back to wrestling, and this is where this match really got interesting from a photographic standpoint. Again, look, gets kind of mucky here with our advertising in the middle of the mat. But you can see what I'm talking about. We're seeing a match a little differently because you're seeing it from above and being able to present this photographically is kind of cool. I got lucky here. I got a face instead of the back of a head. Usually with a pinning combination, your head is facing the ground. So to have this looking up, I'm okay with. I like it. Again, our advertising throws me off. This would have been just a cleaner shot without it. Can't help it. That's a good context shot because we see pain, we see the hold, we see that your referee is watching. Good storytelling as far as I'm concerned. Here's your pin call. This is the one that I got burned on pretty big because there is good celebration all in the direction I am not facing. Now, there's a way I'm going to present one of these. This one or this one, I'm going to keep them both. Oh, okay. I did get a face. A secondary howl. All right. And then we have a nice touching moment. I think it's a father-son moment. It's a good touching moment. But there's gobbledygook to the upper left of that frame that makes it messy. So I'm just gonna have to say that's an A plus catch with a C minus execution. Yeah, we're getting through. We're getting through. So let's go. Let's go take a look. Oh, how do I pick which? Hey, look, we've got questions. Do you have any of the Mawson crowd? I don't actually. I meant to, and then I forgot about that. How do I pick which events to go to? Yesterday. So again, we were in Osseo yesterday. Why did we pick Osseo? We picked Osseo because I hadn't seen West Salem. GT is good. Like, I think they're state level good. I get Arcadia again. I get Boston again. That was a big bonus for me. I wasn't aware of some of the other, I'm going to call them weirdo schools. But I got bonuses. I got Watoma kids. I got Dell's kids, Adams kids, Ellsworth Prescott, Black River Falls. Again, we had some bonuses. Teams that I definitely don't normally see, but I'm going to call them good bonuses. And we didn't have a lot of basketball to pick from yesterday. Even if I did, yesterday was a wrestling day. And wrestling needed to get its due. State, we usually can't stay at state for more than like a day or a session. We usually like to go down for that opening session. And that's about it. Or we go down Thursday and give it a lot of time. But going back on Friday, it just doesn't make a lot of sense because a lot of our local kids have been eliminated by then. So if we're going to get the most bang for our buck, we need to go that opening round. All right, we've got good celebration here. But once again, camera screws us up, right? I have a nice frame here. What I really like is that we are not looking at anybody. We have no eyes. If I haven't talked about this before, I'll talk about it again. No eyes. So it changes the image. If, when the figure is looking at you and you can see the eyes, it gives it a certain character that is taken away. There's a certain level of here. I'll show you what we did. Let's compare these two. So here we go. Hey, look at that. Okay. Where's my gallery from today? I'm going to open this in a new window. When you can see the eyes, it anchors an image a certain way, but when you take the eyes away, so this is a black and white version of that, it makes it a little less specific, a little more, it hits a little different. Obviously, the black and white makes it feel different. I framed it up for socials this way because this is a sloppy presentation. Photo's crooked for one. This is straight. We can tell because the bleachers are crooked. We have an official. It's not centered in the space. And this particular photo needed all of that to bring attention to our wrestler. And it feels a little timeless because you can't see who it is in a way, but you can feel the emotion because of the gesture, right? Obviously, if his eyes were there, you could see that emotion too. This is it hits differently. I need to probably come up with a better explanation for that. All right. So 150, so we're about halfway through, if I remember correctly. I remember doing my math correctly. Our semifinal round. I love cradles, arm bars, halves, whatever we need to do to put kids on their backs to get these weird people combinations, human body part combinations. I think it's great. This match was interesting. I think there's a lot of testosterone in this match. That is a bridge. That is a bridge. That is a wild bridge that may lead to a snap neck if you let it persist. This match got pretty heated. This is one that you're going to see at the end. There was a moment all in the wrong direction. But again, I think everybody kind of got into this because it gets a little chippy. I feel like this match maybe felt maybe a little too personal, but it was good. I thought it was entertaining, especially as a neutral party. It was entertaining. Where are we at? 157. This is a fast match. I didn't get much out of this. This happened very quickly, and it all happened in the wrong kind of direction. Here's the ending of the match. There is celebration happening. If you notice where I'm at, I'm behind the character doing the celebrating. Want to know how good I felt about that? Missing those moments does hurt. Did I touch on how I pick the events? Again, yesterday, that's how I picked. Other nights, this time of year, I'm trying to see as many different teams as possible. So when I'm trying to pick games this next week, basically it's my parameters are as follows. If you're a good team, we need to see you if we haven't seen you. If you're not a good team and you're nearby, near to a good team, we might be able to squeeze you in. We try to see everybody in a 5 to 7 conference radius. It just doesn't always work out. Some places we are a little more attached to. Some places are tougher to get to geographically. Iowa. So you really have to work hard to try to see those teams. We got lucky on Friday. We made some decisions on Friday. There are a couple teams that I know are conference champions that we have not seen. And we need to see them. especially if they're in our primary coverage area. So our primary coverage area includes the Ridge and Valley, Scenic Bluffs, Cooley, Mississippi Valley, and the Dairyland conferences. If you are from those, if you are one of those schools, you fall into our primary coverage area. However, over the course of the 15 years or however long I've been doing this, um, it's probably closer to 20. I've made relationships in other places, so it makes it really hard to skip some other stops. That's why I end up in a Lancaster. That's why I end up in a Fall Creek because that's an interesting body position. Um, because I've made relationships there and you have to maintain those. And the only way to maintain a relationship is to show up, whether it be home or away. You've got to go visit those teams somehow and say, hey, coach, good to see you. Sorry you lost tonight. Sorry you won tonight. Whatever it is. This time of year, we're trying to catch up on a lot of teams. And there are a couple of legacy teams that I've seen probably for over 15 years at this point in time that we may not be able to get to this year. That's just how it's going to break down. And I don't like it. But it's the same philosophy that I try to apply when it comes to newspaper. Everybody deserves to be in the newspaper. The teams that we cover, we have a bunch of teams that are not good. They aren't winners. They will win sporadically, but not consistently. They deserve to be in the newspaper, though. But there's a place for them. Winners go in the front, losers go in the back. Important things go in the front, non-important things go in the back. You have to make some of those decisions. Me as a photo editor, I've got to choose what photos are good and what photos are bad. And I try to be ruthless because if I let mediocrity come through, it shows in the work that we do. If I choose to put, like, there has to be a good reason for me to find a losing team to put on a front page of a newspaper. Because that is prime real estate for special things. If you lose a state semifinal, if you lose a conference championship, those are two different things. One might be worthy of a front page spot, and one might not be. When it comes to coverage, this time of year, we have to pick and choose a little bit. It's the same philosophy. So if we can see them, great. And if we can't, hey, I'm sorry. We'll do our best to get to that school for something in the spring. Or maybe we saw you pretty okay in the fall. Yeah, weird expression. I'm going to just tank it. Wasn't thrilled. Eyes weren't open. So we must be, okay, so here we are. Whew. I think it's the home stretch. Let's take a look. Which folder is, yes, it is. That can't be right. I have to have killed more than that, right? Somehow I still only have 1,500 photos left. That feels like a lot. So maybe I shot a lot during finals. Or maybe I have just kept a lot. All right, starting at 106, here's our home stretch. How long have we been talking? Hey, everybody. Can you guys hear me okay? Does a mic come through? Do you need me to wave at the camera more and acknowledge you this way? Does this view with this repeating thing look stupid? Maybe I should just share like a window instead of sharing the whole screen. Stevens Point for girls sectionals on Friday. We have not decided yet. To be very honest, most likely not because of the travel and the distance and some of our other things that we need to do. But I'm not going to take it off the table. Because today is Sunday. There are a lot of things that can happen between Sunday and Friday. And I do not want to ignore the girls' postseason. I don't want to ignore girls wrestling. I really don't. But it's just unfortunate, just the layout of their postseason with a really depleted regional everywhere for the most part. What did I count in Holman? 38 girls in Holman. Holman and Toma had the most in that grouping, but still 38 and 24 of those qualified for sectionals, if I'm correct with how that math works out. If we would have had twice as many kids there, would have been a little different. Now, keep in mind, girls wrestling. Again, we're not trying to poo-poo girls wrestling. I think it's good. I wanted to go. We made some different decisions on Friday. Here's how I explained it. We had Friday. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Logan had some car things that need to get taken care of. So she's got a buddy in Cadott that works on that. So we took her car to Cadott, and I was going to stay north, or we were going to stay north to get that taken care of. And just, again, we had already made the drive, so why not just stay there and find sports around there, of which there were many. But at that, on the way home, I said, you know what? We're going to go towards home. We're either going to stop at Lincoln to go see the Osseo-Fairchild boys because they're winning the Dairyland, or they have won or will win the Dairyland Large. By the time we got to Lincoln, I changed my plan and I said, nope, we're going to Holman. We're going to stick to the plan. I want to make sure we have girls wrestling artwork. We'll get there a little late. We're not going to miss much. And by the time we had driven another 10 miles, I switched my mind one more time. And I said, we've seen a lot of those wrestling teams. I think this time of year, we need to move forward instead of laterally in terms of what we're covering. So I took a peek, looked at our area conferences. Where do we have big matchups? Where do we have teams that we haven't seen? By the way, this is a fun reaction coming up here. And for poops and giggles, I'm just going to keep this entire sequence because this is good. That's a really good reaction. I felt real good about this one. I actually moved. I saw this. So this match happened as it was opening up or finishing. We get to like the last 20 seconds. The Regis kid is ahead. I'm towards the head table, shooting at a weird angle. I know where their fans are, which are in the opposite, kind of in the corner further to my left. So in the last 20 seconds, I get up, I walk very calmly and coolly to put myself between him, our wrestler, and the fans behind me. And I lucked out. Look at this. This is great. That's a great sequence. I'm going to do this a favor, and I'm just going to save that sequence as a sequence. Okay, from here on out, I'm deleting stuff. But I'm saving that sequence. Love it. Okay, so where was I? Talking about Friday, right? So we were going to go to girls wrestling. And then I looked, and I took a peek at the Ridge and Valley, and I said, oh my gosh, we have a doubleheader at DeSoto with Wazika Steuben. Don't need to see either of the boys' teams. It's not bad, though. We've only seen each of them once, so that's not the end of the world. So let's consider that. And the girls' game is super important because those are the best two Ridge and Valley Conference teams. And you know what we did? We did the right thing. DeSoto won. They won a conference title. They won their first conference title since 2006. They got a trophy. I didn't expect that part. Cut down the nets. It was a good time. It was a great time to be there. I've watched teams win conference titles after winning conference titles multiple years in a row. There's excitement, don't get me wrong, but there's something different when you haven't done it in 20 years. Again, none of these girls that are on that team were even alive at that time. 2006, that's not even that long ago. I was alive. I was in college, and I was enjoying whatever was in college, probably learning stuff. So Friday night was the decision. The topic was, how do we pick games? Again, I get long-winded, and I've got a lot of photos to cull yet. The decision was purely, we were trying to move forward, see more teams we haven't seen, than laterally see teams we've already seen. And this week, we've got a few more things that we need to check off. And now that we have girls basketball brackets out, it helps me kind of alleviate that stress. Now I can pick and choose kind of accordingly. You see certain brackets. I know a certain team's going to get a good home game. Let's go watch that game. Let's give them a first round game. Because most of our first round games, I hate to say it, they're not good. But if I can see somebody that we haven't seen, it makes it worth it. If I can stack those games and get two of them at once, it's worth it. Oh yeah, this is a good celebration. I thought. I think Nakusa had two kids in the finals, maybe more. There, my camera didn't decide just to do weird stuff. Here, well, you can tell I'm behind the coaches. I'm on the coaches side of the gym now. The Nakusa crowd is behind me, but again, I kind of gambled. Is he going to look at his coaches? Going to look at his fans? I probably didn't really know where the fans were, but I also knew all the other photogs were on the other side of the mat, and I just needed to move around. I just needed to try to do something different. This Adams match was fun. Adams GT third place match was good. I think the Adams kid scored something to force overtime. They went to overtime. They went to sudden victory. Um, I actually didn't do a good job seeing anything that happened of the match. I just got a lot of reactions. Not the end of the world, but definitely not my best. I shot this match because this obviously was a Port Edwards kid wrestling for the Nakusa co-op, and I love the fact that he wore a Port singlet. Look at that athleticism. That is limber and loose. Got to give coach credit. You do. I think this is a weird maneuver. Look what's happening here and here. If I remember, again, not every single play does not stand out to me, but I do remember this being a very unique maneuver that it looked like it was going one way and it went the other way. Again, we're shooting finals, so I didn't do a lot with the third place matches. I figured they'd had their chance. I probably saw them earlier. I needed to pick and choose. Otherwise, you'd be going through no, 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 4,500, 8,500 photos with me. We don't need to do that. You guys are sick of doing this already, too. That was nice. Look at that. I thought it was really nice that Wrestling Sectional Day was also Valentine's Day. You're going to see when we get to our heavyweights. Gosh, they loved Valentine's Day. There was so much hugging going on. I mean, that's just a very, very appropriate thing for a Valentine's Day. Lots of hugging. Very subtle reaction. All right, so here's a match. I gambled and I kind of lost. You're going to see as we get there. This is one of my thumbnails. I think this was called for like an illegal move, but it looked cool, at least in that moment. I moved behind coaches at one point, hoping I would get an interesting look at a coach, and that didn't really happen. Again, I feel like I zagged and they zagged just about every time. And no, if you're a wrestler and you're listening or you are watching this either live or in the future, do not look for the photographer and goof off for them. I don't that to me feels so contrived. As cool as a photo might be, I don't want it. I want it to be as natural as possible. You do you. Don't worry about what the photo people are doing. Hey, look, these guys are happy. We have some fun reactions. Look at those faces. Some are stunned and don't know what to make of it. Some are actually legitimately thrilled. Cool. Again, very subtle. I'll take it. I don't think maybe there was yelling. I think there was yelling for that. I think Mason did yell towards the crowd. This is where I thought I succeeded. If we were to frame this, you can't see, I would eliminate the lower third, take out the top third, so you can see this in like a wide panorama type shot because you can see the crowd celebrating, especially here. Again, is that photo worthy of being deleted? No. keep it. There's a place for it. But again, you as a presenter have to find a way to best present that image. So here's what we have. My camera's sitting uppy downy portrait style on the floor. So it's on its side. I am shooting from the hardwood floor up and over the mat. So this brown color is the floor. Then we have the edge of the mat, which is all blurred out because again, the focus is on our figures in the background. I like this look a lot. I shove them to the top of the frame. I think I even moved my focal point just to give us different presentation. It keeps me fresh mentally as I'm trying to build an image, challenges me. But that type of an image, if you were to see that in print, it's going to hit you differently than every other image that is from a camera attached to a human sitting down with that camera up to their eye. Oh yeah, this was an interesting match because the headgear got in the way, caused some problems. Was he chewing his headgear apart at one point in time because it was broken or something? It caused problems, I know that. This caused some yells, cheers, boos. If you guys are at wrestling, anywhere, like I felt we had officials that were very quick to pull the plug on celebrations, good or bad. I think we had, I know that we had some older guys that I think are pretty conservative when it comes to that. But if you have a chance to go to state, qualify for state, I believe that you, again, there's a right and a wrong way to do it, but you celebrate that. And for these kids, one of the discussions I had was if you lost your final, but you didn't get a wrestle back, let's say you finished second place, there could have been a wrestle back, but there wasn't. Well, you qualified for state because there wasn't a wrestle back because of the rule. If you didn't celebrate in your semifinal, you never got to celebrate you actually going to state. You made it to a final, you lost. The kid that you'd already beaten won their third place match. You're not going to wrestle them again. So you would just end kind of on like an emotional thud. To me, that when you get in this format, if you won your semifinal, you should have been happy and you should have been allowed to be excited about that. Again, to a point, there's a right and a wrong way. But for those who didn't get a chance to celebrate, I feel bad because you don't get that moment again. Yeah, in front of the crowd, in front of a crowd. It's no different even at state. You win even a match at state, I'm going to say enjoy it. Because when else are you ever going to stand on the floor of the Kohl Center and look up at a full house of people cheering for you? For some, it's going to happen more than others. Oh my gosh, we're almost done with this thing, I think. For some, it might happen again, but that's pretty rare. So enjoy those moments, celebrate those things. Like I said, there's a way to do it that's good, way to do it that's bad. But I think we have to assess and be aware of those moments and be very okay with them. Because I want kids to enjoy that moment. I want parents to enjoy that moment. I think he's losing an eyeball. Okay, so here we are. We are at the end of my run at this tournament. There are some wide photos. I don't think we're going to go through all those. This is our heavyweight match. This was fun. He was excited. I don't like gradients on singlets. Okay, so this Mondovi singlet, I've seen it for years. Black to blue chains. I don't know if it always reads as chains. It's probably a little too cluttered, but I do kind of like the singlet. Um, it's a fun kind of championship singlet. Anyways, this is a good way for me to end. We got one last celebration. Perfect. Look at that. Excited to go to state. Excited to win a sectional. Be excited to win a sectional. I mean, let's face it. If you went to a boys basketball sectional final and the game was over and all you could do is clap, that'd be boring as all get out. Oh, I tried here. I tried hard. I was trying to stack him with this American flag and I just couldn't get it right. So eventually I gave up. I don't think I did very well in terms of finding wide photos, like on the edge of the mat, shoot underneath and up into here. This was an important. No, I know I said I wasn't going to go through these, but here I am. This was an important takedown, but you can't see a face, so they all have to go away. And I'm willing to just kill photos if they're not good enough. That's just how you have to have those standards. Hey, Eric, look at that. You guys don't know Eric? You should say hi. He prowls that Trumbull County area more and more. We had a number of good talks throughout the day. He kept me sane. This kind of fell in my lap almost literally. Would have been great to have a pin here. Just it didn't go that way. I got lucky a couple of years ago. I went to a sectional and had a couple of Boston kids actually right in front of me. Punched their ticket to state with a pin, literally like right there in front of me. Celebration was great. It was unique. It's something that I would never get any other way. Really thrilled with those. Again, it's those big moments. But again, I tried the wide angle. It didn't give me the results I was really hoping for. Anyways, again, we have big boys ready to fall into my lap. Not happy with that. Don't need that to have happen. What if we anyways, so we've gone through this. We've taken our 2,500 images and we've cut it down to 1,000. That's still a lot. Good great. I'll go through one time more just to make sure I didn't skip anything. Anyways, if you were there, great. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching and following along. Again, we're trying to do some different things video wise. If it works, it works. And if I screw it up, I screw it up. The only way to get back to fail. And I expect to fail a lot. It's on my board. If you can see it, it's over behind me. Anyways, I appreciate you guys following along today. Remember, follow any and all of the GX3 Media social media pages. What are we on? Facebook, Instagram. I think we have a TikTok. We don't update the TikTok. If you want us to, you need to tell us. I'm not going to do stupid TikTok things. We can put things there. They just won't be stupid. All right. Thanks everybody for watching and following along. I just learned something from our late night photo flip in the afternoon. Hey, we'll see you guys at a sporting event this week. If you want us to come up with a schedule, we can consider that so you can see exactly where we're going to be at. Until then, again, you guys get out to a game. We'll get out to a game. Hopefully we cross over at some point in time. Enjoy your weekend.